Imagine walking through the heart of a forgotten metropolis, a city of wood, brick, and ambition, rising from the southern tip of a wild island. This is not the New York of skyscrapers, but New York of the 1700s, a colonial port of 5,000 souls. A volatile and bustling engine of trade. Through the lens of modern AI, we can now reconstruct these lost streets, peeling back centuries of progress to witness the raw, vibrant, and often precarious world where modern America began. I must admit, before diving into this reconstruction, I didn't know nearly enough about the sheer density, the scent, the sound of this place, so let's step back in time. Let's walk these lanes together. Our journey begins on the water. From across the river, you can see a jagged skyline of chimneys, church steeples and ship masts, a dense silhouette against the sky. The harbor itself is a forest of wood and rope. Sloops from New England, brigs from the Caribbean, and grand merchant ships from London and Amsterdam crowd the anchorages, their sails furled like folded wings. The air is a potent cocktail, the salty temps of the sea, the pungent smell of fish from the docks, and the underlying sweetness of molasses and rum wafting from nearby warehouses. Small boats, wherries crisscross the choppy water, ferrying people and goods with frantic energy. Standing here at the Battery, the fortified shoreline, you feel the city's pulse, its entire lifeblood drawn from this tumultuous connecting sea. Moving north along the East River, we find the city's beating commercial heart. The docks are a scene of orchestrated chaos. Burly stevedores, their shirts stained with sweat, heave barrels of flour and crates of manufactured goods. The shouts of foremen, mixed with the cry of gulls and the constant creak of ropes and pulleys. Look at the buildings lining the narrow warehouses with steep gabled roofs, their upper stories jutting out over the street. Their facades are a practical patchwork of brick and timber, weathered to a silvery gray by salt and wind. This is where fortunes are made and lost. That barrel being rolled ashore contains sugar from Barbados. That one, packed with nails, is from Birmingham. Every item tells a story of a vast Atlantic world, linking this raw colony to empires. 1 block inland from the Din is Pearl Street, a address of aspiration. Here, the successful merchants have built their homes and businesses, elegant structures that speak of growing wealth. We see tall, Dutch-style houses with distinctive stepped gables, built from imported yellow brick, their doorways framed by ornate stonework. But step closer. The ground floor is often a counting house or shop, its wide windows displaying fine fabrics or porcelain. The merchant's family lives above, in rooms growing increasingly fashionable. Yet, just behind these homes, in narrow alleys, the scene shifts. The air grows thick with the smell of tannery vats and brewing malt. This is the constant contrast of 1700s New York. Elegant facades fronting a world of relentless, smelly, vital industry. Now, let's walk up Broadway to Wall Street. The name comes from the literal wooden wall that once stood here as a northern defense. By the early 1700s, the wall is gone, but the street is defining itself. It's less a financial canyon and more a wide, dusty lane. At its head stands Trinity Church, a modest wooden Anglican chapel, its spire a spiritual landmark. But what's remarkable here is the human tapestry. Wealthy burghers in powdered wigs and silk coats pass by enslaved Africans carrying heavy loads. Artisans in leather aprons argue with farmers from Long Island who've brought their carts of produce. This reconstruction allows us to see the street not as a symbol, but as a vital artery where all strands of colonial society, the pious, the profiteering, the enslaved, the free inevitably cross paths. Standing here at the intersection of Wall and Water Streets, it's impossible not to notice a grim and central truth. This was the site of one of the colony's most active slave markets. The human cargo that arrived on those ships from the Caribbean and West Africa was sold here. The economy, we see the docks, the fine houses, the exported flour was inextricably linked to this brutal institution. Enslaved men, women, and children constituted nearly 20% of the city's population, their labor building its physical and economic foundations. Seeing this space recreated is a sobering reminder of the deep contradictions upon which the city was built. A hub of aspiring liberty, fundamentally dependent on human bondage. From commerce to civic life, we move to Broad Street. Wider than most, it lives up to its name. At its southern end lies the imposing City Hall, later Federal Hall. It's a stately brick building with a classical pediment, a symbol of growing British colonial authority. Lawyers and officials in formal attire hurry up its steps. But just outside, the space transforms into a public square. Here, the news is cried aloud, proclamations from the governor, notices of ship arrivals. People gather not just for official business, but to gossip, to debate, to sell. It's a stage for the social and political drama of the city, a place where the arguments that will one day fuel revolution are already being whispered. Leaving the main thoroughfares, we plunge into the warren of side streets and alleys. This is where most of the 5,000 inhabitants live and work. The streets are unpaved, a thick soup of mud, garbage, and animal waste after a rain. Houses of wood and clapboard lean precariously together, their upper floors nearly touching, blocking out the sun. The danger of fire is omnipresent, a terrifying threat in a city built of timber and heated by open hearths. Imagine the smell on a hot summer day, a dense mix of baking bread, rotting offal, and the smoke from countless chimneys. This is the visceral, challenging daily reality for the city's carpenters, seamstresses, sailmakers, and laborers. As dusk falls, let's step into one of the city's many taverns. The Crown Inn, perhaps. Inside, the air is thick with the smoke of clay pipes, the scent of roasted meat, and spilled ale. This is the true social and political hub. At rough wooden tables, sailors on shore leave swap tales, merchants seal deals over Madeira wine, and printers debate the latest pamphlets from Boston or London. The tavern is a great equalizer, a volatile mix of classes and opinions. In these flickering candlelit rooms, amid the clatter of tankards, the ideas of liberty and self-governance find fertile ground. Far from the formal chambers of City Hall, night settles over Colonial New York. The respectable streets grow quiet, lit only by the occasional lantern or the glow from a window. But the taverns and dockside alleys hum with a different energy, a world of shadow, opportunity, and risk. Watchmen make their rounds, calling the hour. The contrast is now stark, the silent. Elegant homes of Pearl Street versus the murmuring, uncertain darkness a few blocks away. This city is a place of immense promise and profound inequality, of beautiful imported silks and muddy, treacherous lanes. It is, in every sense, a prelude. Standing here today, in this AI-reconstructed past, what strikes me most is the human scale. This was a walking city, a breathing, shouting, smelling organism. Every person we've seen, the enslaved dockworker, the ambitious merchant, the weary tavern keeper, was navigating a world on the cusp of unimaginable change. Within decades, the quiet debates in the coffeehouses would erupt into revolution. The wooden city would burn and be rebuilt. The modest port would begin its meteoric rise. This reconstruction isn't just about architecture. It's about capturing the final moments of a colonial childhood before the turbulent adolescence of a nation. If we could witness this firsthand and then blink forward to our time, the traces are still there, buried deep. The winding path of Pearl Street, the curve of the old shoreline now far inland, the enduring grid of Lower Broadway, the restless, commercial, diverse, and contentious spirit born here in the 1700s never left. It simply built upon itself, layer upon layer, to create the city we know. So, what do you think? Could you smell the spices on the dock? Hear the cacophony of languages on Broad Street? The power of AI reconstruction is that it allows us, for a moment, to not just read about history, but to stand silently within it, to feel its textures and understand its complexities on a human level. This was New York in the 1700s, a crucible of trade, tension, and transformation. What other lost moments in history would you like us to reconstruct and walk through together? Let us know in the comments below. Until next time, keep exploring.